You did it. You finally started dating that person. The one who is so attractive, almost seems unfair. The one who makes heads turn. The one your friends are secretly a little jealous of. It feels like you are living in a movie, where everything is just beautiful and easy, until it is not. Slowly, the perfect picture starts to tear at the edges. The shocking inability to handle a simple disagreement. The blank stare you get when you are having a bad day and just need a little empathy. The full-blown emotional meltdown over the smallest inconvenience. And just like that, the dream collapses, revealing a hard, disappointing truth. Being hot does not automatically make someone a good partner. In fact, sometimes it is the very thing that gets in the way. You are left standing in the rubble of the relationship, asking yourself, how did I miss this? You were so dazzled by the beautiful packaging that you never really checked to see what was inside. And what you found was an empty box. So why does this happen over and over again? We are about to break down the psychological reasons for this painful gap between physical attraction and emotional intelligence. And more importantly, we will show you how to spot the red flags before you get trapped, so you can stop chasing a fantasy and start building something real. One of the biggest lies we are sold about dating is that physical attraction is the key to a great relationship. It is not. It is the doorway, maybe the ticket to get in, but it is not the main event. The main event, the thing that decides if a relationship actually survives, is emotional intelligence. And yet, we keep falling for the person who is a perfect 10, only to find out they have the emotional skills of a toddler. We have all been there, or we have watched a friend go through it. You meet someone, and the chemistry is insane. They are, by all objective standards, gorgeous. For a while, that is enough. It is intoxicating. Every date feels like a win. Just being seen with them feels like a status symbol. But then real life shows up. A canceled plan, a tough day at work, a disagreement about something that actually matters. And that is when you see it. The blank look when you try to talk about your feelings. The defensive wall that goes up instantly. The subtle way they make your problem about their inconvenience. And suddenly, the most beautiful person in the room is the loneliest person to be with. You realize you are in a relationship with a picture, not a person. The root of this problem is a cognitive bias every single one of us has, the halo effect. This is a mental shortcut where our brain sees one great quality, like physical beauty, and just assumes a bunch of other great qualities are there too. We see a beautiful face, and our brain automatically fills in the blanks with words like kind, smart, honest, and emotionally mature. Your brain is wired for efficiency, not accuracy, and in dating, that creates massive blind spots. Physical attractiveness is one of the strongest triggers for the halo effect. Study after study shows we assign positive qualities to attractive people, creating a bias so powerful it makes us ignore or downplay behavior that screams red flag. Their beauty creates a halo so bright, it can blind you for months, even years. You want so badly for this person to be as good on the inside as they are on the outside. Your brain basically becomes their publicist, spinning every character flaw into a cute quirk. But here is the hard truth. Beauty is a static trait. Emotional intelligence is a dynamic skill. One is about genetics. The other is about awareness, empathy, and the real work of connecting with another human. The two have absolutely no built-in connection. And today, we are pulling back the curtain on why. The number one reason you will find a shocking lack of emotional depth in some conventionally hot people comes down to something called pretty privilege. Now, this is not about blaming them for being attractive. It is about understanding the bubble their looks can create around them and how that bubble can accidentally sabotage their emotional growth. From a young age, people seen as highly attractive are often treated differently. The world just smiles at them more. They get more opportunities, they are forgiven more easily, and their path through life is often socially lubricated. Think about it. The popular kids in school are usually the attractive ones. At work, they might get the benefit of the doubt. In bars, people are eager to approach them, to please them. While this sounds like a huge advantage, and in many ways, it has a hidden cost. When the world is constantly bending over backwards for you, you never have to learn how to bend for the world. When people are quick to forgive you, you rarely develop the skill of a real apology or deep self-reflection. When your surface-level charm gets you everything you want, there's very little reason to dig deeper and build character. Emotional intelligence is built in the tough moments. It is learned through rejection, through having to fight to be understood, through facing the consequences of your own actions. It is what you build when you say the wrong thing and have to figure out how to make it right. It is strengthened when you hurt someone and have to sit with their pain to develop real empathy. But for someone who has coasted on pretty privilege, a lot of these emotional workouts may have been skipped. Their life is one where people are so desperate for their approval that no one gives them honest, critical feedback. This creates a feedback desert. Instead of being challenged to grow, their bad behaviors get excused, ignored, or even romanticized. A little bit of arrogance gets framed as confidence. Emotional unavailability is just playing hard to get. An inability to handle conflict is dismissed as being passionate. Imagine your friend starts dating a guy who is movie star handsome. At first, all she talks about is his looks. Then, the stories change. He gets moody whenever she wants to talk about the future. He makes passive-aggressive digs when she hangs out with her friends. When she tries to talk to him about it, he flips it on her, calling her too demanding or too emotional. Her friends see the red flags, but she defends him, saying, "But he is so sweet most of the time." She is not defending his character. She is defending the halo effect. She is defending the idea of him that his looks created in her mind. This person has probably never been forced to see these behaviors as real flaws. His looks have always been a get-out-of-jail-free card. He has not had to learn how to be an emotionally supportive partner, because his physical presence was always seen as enough. He looks like sugar, but he tastes like salt. This is the curse of pretty privilege. It is like playing life on easy mode, where the difficulty is so low you never level up your emotional skills. You stay a beginner in the art of human connection because you were never forced to become an expert. While it is not a universal rule, some research hints that a life with fewer social hurdles might mean fewer opportunities to build up those community-minded muscles, like empathy. Another huge piece of the puzzle is the massive difference between attention and connection. Many attractive people grow up being bombarded with attention, almost all of it based on how they look. Compliments, likes on social media, a constant stream of people wanting to be near them. This creates a powerful and ultimately hollow lesson. My value is my appearance. As a result, they can become masters at getting attention, but remain total beginners at building connection. Attention is a transaction. It is about being admired and validated from the outside. Connection is a relationship. It is about being understood and building intimacy from the inside. The skills for each are worlds apart. Getting attention requires you to maintain an image. Building connection requires you to be vulnerable and show your flaws. For someone whose self-worth is built on external validation, the real work of connection can feel weird, pointless, or even scary. Why bother with the messy dance of emotional intimacy when you can get a quick, easy hit of validation just by posting a selfie? They confuse the feeling of being wanted with the feeling of being known. In a relationship, this shows up as a shocking level of superficiality. They might be a great +1 at a party. They look amazing in your photos. The first phase of dating them is a thrill because you are the one who got them. But when the party is over and it is just the two of you, the silence is deafening. You notice that conversations never go deep. They dodge questions about their feelings or their fears. They might be charming and funny, but the second you bring up a topic with any emotional weight, they check out. Their eyes glaze over. They change the subject. They pick up their phone. It is not always mean. Often, it is a genuine lack of ability. They are like a chef who only knows how to make fancy appetizers. They can start things off with a bang, but they have no clue how to make a fulfilling main course. Think back to that dream person you started dating. The first few weeks were a blur of exciting dates and passion. It was all about the presentation of a relationship. But then you tried to build the substance. You came home from a horrible day at work, needing someone to just listen. As you started to explain, you saw them just waiting for you to finish. They were not listening to understand. They were waiting for this uncomfortable moment to be over. They might have offered a clumsy generic phrase like, "Well, do not worry about it," before immediately changing the subject. In that moment, you felt completely alone. You were with this stunning person, yet you had never felt more invisible. That is because they have learned their role is to be the centerpiece. They have not learned how to be the container for someone else's messy emotions. They see your need for connection as a demand and your vulnerability as a burden, because their whole life has taught them that relationships are about getting admiration, not the mutual exchange of support. Maybe the most painful discovery you make when dating someone who is hot, but not emotionally intelligent, is how they handle conflict. It is in these moments that the gap between their polished outside and their messy inside becomes a canyon. Emotional intelligence is all about managing emotions, yours and others, especially when things get tense. An emotionally intelligent partner does not run from conflict. They approach it with care. A partner with low emotional intelligence, however, either crumbles, explodes, or disappears. When you are with someone who lacks these skills, every tiny disagreement can become a full-blown crisis. Their emotional toolkit is basically empty, so they tend to use one of 4 destructive responses. First up, you get the wall of defensiveness. You try to bring up something that bothered you, say, they were an hour late and did not call. You kindly say, "Hey, I felt really worried and disrespected when I did not hear from you." Instead of hearing your feeling, they immediately throw up a wall. "It was not my fault. The traffic was a nightmare. You know how busy I am. Why are you always attacking me?" They do not hear, "I felt hurt." They hear, "You are bad." Their ego is so fragile that any criticism feels like a personal attack. Second is stonewalling, also known as the silent treatment. This is the go-to move for someone who is so overwhelmed by emotion, they have no idea what to do. You bring up a problem and they just shut down. They stop talking. They walk out. They ignore your texts for days. This is a punishing, manipulative behavior designed to make the problem and you go away. It is a power move that leaves you feeling abandoned and so desperate that you often end up apologizing just to get them to talk to you again. Third, you will see constant blame shifting. Nothing is ever their fault. An emotionally immature person believes their feelings are caused by outside forces. So when there is a problem, they find a way to make it your fault. "I only yelled because you were nagging me. I would not have to hide things if you were not so controlling." They are masters of psychological jiu-jitsu, twisting things around until you feel confused, guilty, and maybe even a little crazy. Finally, there is escalation. Because they cannot handle their own frustration, the emotions just boil over. A calm chat about whose turn it is to do the dishes suddenly becomes a screaming match where they bring up something you did 3 months ago. They raise their voice, say deeply hurtful things, and turn a tiny problem into a massive fight. They create chaos because it is the only way they know how to express the storm they are feeling inside. Being in a relationship like this is like walking on eggshells. You become afraid to bring up anything. You start swallowing your own feelings just to keep the peace. You shrink yourself to avoid setting them off. The beautiful person you were once so excited about becomes a source of constant anxiety. This might sound backwards, but one of the biggest drivers of emotional immaturity in some attractive people is deep insecurity. You would think someone who is constantly told they are beautiful would be the most confident person in the room. But often, the exact opposite is true. When your entire sense of self-worth is built on something as unstable as physical appearance, You live in a state of constant low-grade fear. You fear aging. You fear gaining weight. You fear that someone hotter will come along. Your value is tied to something that is, by definition, temporary. That is a terrifying way to live. This deep-down insecurity shows up in some really destructive ways in a relationship. First, it can create a bottomless need for validation. The compliments are never enough, because they are just short-term fixes for a chronic problem. They need to hear how hot they are, how lucky you are, how much you desire them, over and over. The relationship stops being a partnership and starts being your full-time job as their validation machine. If your attention shifts for a second, maybe you are busy with work or stressed about something else, they see it as a threat. They might accuse you of not being attracted to them anymore, or start drama just to pull the focus back onto themselves. Second, this insecurity often breeds intense jealousy and control. Because they are terrified of losing the status that comes with you being on their arm, they can become incredibly possessive. They get angry if you talk to someone else they deem a threat. They might demand to know where you are at all times. They might even try to isolate you from your friends and family, seeing them as competition for your affection. This is not love. It is ownership. It is a desperate attempt to manage their own anxiety by controlling you. Finally, their insecurity makes it impossible for them to be truly vulnerable. Vulnerability is the glue of emotional intimacy. It is showing your true, flawed self and trusting your partner will still love you. But for someone whose entire identity is built on a flawless image, being vulnerable feels like career suicide. Admitting weakness or confessing a mistake would shatter the very illusion they have worked so hard to maintain. So they keep you at a distance. They never let you see the messy, human parts of them. And because they cannot be vulnerable with you, you can never really be vulnerable with them. This creates a relationship that is a mile wide and an inch deep. It looks perfect from the outside, but it feels hollow and lonely on the inside. You cannot build a real connection with a curated image. You can only build it with a real person. Research even suggests that higher emotional intelligence can protect people from body image issues, meaning emotional maturity helps people feel better about themselves, not the other way around. True self-worth comes from the inside, and if they have not built it there, no amount of external validation will ever fill that void. So if you are stuck in this cycle, what can you do? The answer is not to swear off attractive people. It is to fundamentally shift your own mindset and redefine what attraction really means to you. It is about graduating from a high school definition of hot to an adult understanding of what makes someone a truly desirable partner. First, get brutally honest about your own priorities. Society has programmed us to put physical attractiveness at the top of the list. But the good news is, the culture is starting to wise up. In survey after survey, qualities like emotional maturity, good communication, and empathy are consistently ranked as top priorities for people seeking long-term partners. People are realizing that while beauty is nice, emotional safety is priceless. Ask yourself, am I choosing partners who look good on my arm, or partners who are good for my soul? Am I addicted to the thrill of winning someone attractive, or am I genuinely looking for a teammate? Second, become a detective of emotional intelligence on early dates. Stop being blinded by the halo effect and start looking for actual evidence of character. Here's a quick checklist. Are they truly present? Do they make eye contact? Is their phone put away? When you talk, are they actually listening or just waiting for their turn? A huge sign of emotional intelligence is the ability to make you feel like you are the only person in the room. Can you see signs of empathy? Talk about something mildly stressful in your life, a tough project at work, a family thing. You are not trauma dumping. You are just testing the waters. Do their eyes show curiosity, or do they glaze over with boredom? Do they ask follow-up questions? Or do they immediately one-up you with their own story? An empathetic person leans in. An unempathetic person looks for the exit. Do they show self-awareness? How do they talk about their past? Is every ex crazy? Is every problem someone else's fault? An emotionally mature person has the humility to admit they are not perfect. They can talk about past mistakes with a sense of growth. Someone who paints a picture of a flawless life is either lying or has zero self-awareness. The final step is to actively prioritize mental and emotional attraction. This is the connection built through great conversation, shared values, and mutual respect. It is that feeling of, I love talking to you, or you just get me. That is the stuff that lasts. Make it a rule. Only go on a second date if you felt a spark of emotional or intellectual chemistry, not just a physical one. Did you laugh at the same weird stuff? Did you leave feeling energized and understood? Physical attraction is the spark. Emotional intelligence is the wood that keeps the fire burning. When you start valuing the wood more than the spark, your entire dating life will change. Finding a great partner is really about learning to see beyond the surface. It is about unlearning the scripts that movies and social media have fed us and learning to trust our gut about who makes us feel safe, seen, and supported. The truth is, being hot is an attribute. Emotional intelligence is a practice. It is the ongoing work of self-awareness, empathy, and communication. It is the willingness to be a good human in a relationship. And that is infinitely more attractive than a perfect face. The best relationships are built on patience, empathy, vulnerability, and communication, all cornerstones of emotional intelligence.